bringing Gator Nation a different Gator great every episode.
This is Jabari Gaffney. You're listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
Hey, I'm Earl Everett. You're not a Gator, you're Gator bait.
This is Bo Carroll.
Hey, I'm Rita Anthony.
This is Chris Rainey.
This is Cedric Faison, a.k.a. C4.
This is Jack Jackson. Go Gators, the real number one.
Hey, man, this is Chad Jackson, and you're listening to All for the Gators, man. Here, go Gators.
Hey, this is Jeff Chandler, the all-time leading scorer in Florida football history.
This is Tony George. Go Gators.
Hey, guys, this is Jarvis Moss. Go Gators.
Johnny Rutledge here, and you are listening to All for the Gators podcast.
This is Ben Trooper. You listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
This is Chris Doring, and you're listening to the All for the Gators podcast.
You don't remember who we had on the show?
No, I remember.
Yeah? Tell me three.
How about three receivers? I'll give you Riddell, Jabbar.
Okay, you got it.
Jack Jackson, Chad Jackson. I was here.
You still got to look them up.
Oh, not yet.
All right, so what we're going to do this week, guys, I just wanted to take an episode and sort of I don't know. Do we have enough episodes to do a best of? I don't know.
What are we up to now, like 14?
Every show we do feels like the best one we've done. It just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
But no, I would like to have a larger library before we start best of. Like the Eagles had like 5-6 albums before they got the best of the Eagles out there. We got to do a little better than that.
All right, so we haven't hit our Hotel California. That's what you're saying.
We have not. No. we need a larger library. Victim of love.
Too bad. We're doing it. So
all right, let's do it.
And this is totally unscripted. We haven't prepped at all, and that's the purpose of this. We just wanted to go into this unscripted and discuss some of our favorite moments and discussions from the shows we've done, put that into a sort of a best of, or maybe like a podcast trailer for people that haven't maybe listened to a whole episode or any episodes, and it'll give them a gist of what our show's about, how we execute our show, how compelling it can be, entertaining it can be, informative it could be, unless Sid's talking.
Fair.
I guess this is our intro, right? So
it is. Let's roll with it. I love it.
I'm just going to throw it right to Andy, and I'm going to say...
Oh, God. Here we go. Here we go. This is not going to end well for me.
Do you have a favorite episode that we've done so far?
I think my favorite episode is Chad Jackson.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that's my favorite one. I had the most fun on that one. I don't know what it was. It was just like him from the start was just in it. It was great stories. He was energetic. There's something about that one that stuck with me. We've had some great ones, though. But that one, for some reason, I feel like is my favorite.
One of my favorite parts of that show, of course, was at the end when we surprised him. When I asked him if he had any hobbies, and I was expecting him to be honest with us.
Oh, yeah.
And he did not mention karaoke. Why don't we start the show with that?
Excellent.
Chad Jackson doing karaoke right here, all for the Gators podcast. What's Chad Jackson do for fun these days? Any hobbies, kids?
I'm a new father, man. I just had a daughter a couple years ago.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she just turned 2 in December. So when I'm not working, I'm usually, on daddy duties. But most of the time, if I'm by myself, a good movie, I'm a video game nut, man. I play video games all the time. So I'm on Call of Duty. But it's all good, though. It's all good.
I thought when I mentioned hobbies, you were going to bring up karaoke.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Hey.
Not just a baller, clearly.
Hey, that careless whisper, baby. Hey, that's my go. That's my number one on karaoke.
I like that, man. You were into it.
Oh man, I was pretty gone that night. Woo.
Well, you usually are when you do karaoke, I think.
Yes, sir.
We're doing a best of some of our favorite segments of the show, discussions. Sid, is there a segment or a question or answer that sticks out in your mind that was just like, wow, we had no idea?
I really enjoyed hearing all the stories about the recruiting. It seems like Ron Zook, at the time, we didn't really appreciate him. It's kind of like, the girlfriend, don't know what you got till you're gone. But it seems like everybody that Ron Zook touched, he had a bond with him. And I kind of liked hearing all the different perceptions of that. even most recently before he was even a head coach in our last episode with Tony George.
Talking about recruiting stories, how about we go into Mr. Earl Everett, right? One of the top linebackers in Gator history, of course, infamous for his helmetless tackle in the championship game. Remember the story he was telling us about being recruited by Nebraska as a quarterback?
Yes. As a quarterback.
Yeah,
as a quarterback.
That was surprising, yes. But we remember Nebraska did not throw the ball very much at that time.
That's right.
He also said he threw the ball 80 yards in the air.
Yeah.
83.
Yes.
Why don't we play it?
Okay.
This is Earl Everett, his recruiting story, all for the Gators podcast. Best of? Maybe. I don't know. So when I think of Earl Everett, I think of Muhammad Ali saying, "I'm a bad man." I don't know why. It just, that's what comes to my mind. And you were in high school. You played every position, no joke. And the acclaim obviously came from linebacker, but you were even playing quarterback in the playoffs. My question is, what position did you enjoy playing the most if it wasn't linebacker?
To be honest with you, I would have to say quarterback. It was a position that, well, first of all, I never played linebacker all 4 years in high school. I was, more of an athlete, kind of just played everything. I was never stationary at one position, but I got, put into the quarterback role and hated it at first. And I think they introduced it to me as a junior. They wanted me to be the backup quarterback because they knew the kid that was the quarterback at the time was going to be a senior graduating. And then my senior year, they wanted me to be one of the main guys at quarterback. And I hated it and didn't like it at all. Loved every other position. But then going into my senior year, I actually spent a lot of time at quarterback. And we used to go in a stadium sometimes, and I used to stand on the 50 and throw the ball through the goalposts.
Wow.
I always had a strong arm. My accuracy wasn't excellent, in high school, but I always had a strong arm. Farthest throw was 83 yards.
Gee.
Wow.
Yeah. But like I said,
amazing.
I wasn't your college pocket passing quarterback. I was an athlete that just had a strong arm that ran the option well.
I picture you like a Steve McNair at quarterback. Am I close?
Yeah, kind of. Yep. Cordell Stewart. That was my guy growing up watching old Cordell, and that was my nickname in high school. They called me Slash.
You had a lot of slashes in your nickname.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
A lot of people don't know Nebraska was actually recruiting me as a quarterback. They were the only school because we ran a lot of the option in high school. And, they were recruiting me as a quarterback. Went on a visit, enjoyed it. It was just too cold. Yeah, it was 14 degrees when I got off the plane. And, that was a little too cold for a Florida boy.
That's a hard sell.
It is.
I'll tell you, Earl Everett, though, if my memory is right, I think he has my favorite story so far, though.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Is he the one that had, I'm pretty sure he did, but I have not been very good at this. Is he the one that had the bar story?
Yep.
Where they went to the bar and Ohio State was already celebrating with champagne.
Yes.
Yep.
And they turned around and went back to their rooms. And
Ray McDonald
turned them around.
Let's go, guys. And he was like, wait, we just got here. And he says,
yep.
Let him have this. Let him have tonight.
Yep. And then we stomped them. I think that's my favorite story so far. There's some great ones, but that one sticks out for me.
We could play that one, too.
That's a good one.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All for the Gators podcast.
We get to Glendale, and our first night in Arizona, we didn't have a curfew. A bunch of guys got together, and we wanted to go to this little bar. We told Coach we wanted to, go and hang out a little bit. And he was like, all right, tonight you guys don't have a curfew, but the following night, it's like at 11 or something, whatever it was. So anyways, about 10, 11 of us would go to this bar. As soon as we walk in, we see a bunch of Ohio State players. They got VIP sections.
Oh boy.
Popping bottles, champagne, they're acting like
they already won.
The game is already won. This is no lie. Ray McDonald, and I believe it might have been Steve Harris, but I know Ray for sure. Ray was like, guys, let's go. Go. Where are we going? We just got here. Man, let's just go. We don't need to be in here with these guys. And everybody was like, you know what, bro? You're right. Let's go. We're going to let them have this tonight because come Monday or Tuesday, whenever the game was, We're going to show them what we're about. And we took that as disrespect.
Absolutely.
That they were,
absolutely.
In there popping bottles of champagne like they had. So me and Sila went back to our hotel room because we were roommates that trip. And we got in our playbooks and just started going over, asking each other questions. And even, stuff that we already knew, but we wanted to just sharpen our mind. You know what I mean? That way there's no hesitation that when this happens, and the next night, our curfew was like 11 or whatever it was. 9:30, 10 o'clock, man. Sila, we're in the room, back in our books again. And we're going to let them, we were really pissed off. It was like somebody said something about our mom or something. Like, we were like that pissed off that nobody wanted to give us a chance.
Yeah, you were going to be as prepared as you possibly
could be. And Greg Madison, he said, guys, if we play our A game, he said, I'm telling you, it won't be close.
He was right.
He was absolutely right.
Ted Ginn, something starting there in the very beginning, but once that was done, it was all us from there.
Exactly. We kept telling our offense, we said, guys, they scored on special teams. They didn't score on our defense. All right, that was a fluke. Reggie Nelson got held. We're saying all this, all these things to our teammates to try to get their mind off of that. And it was like, and which part of it was true. They didn't score on our defense yet. So we was like, guys, it's cool. It's cool. Let's ride. And beginning of the second quarter, there was a TV timeout, and Brian Crum picked up the ball. And, usually timeout, you go to the numbers and you talk to your coach. For some reason, we were still standing on the field. They called the timeout, and I think we got back out there early, and the referee was waiting to start the clock. And the ball was on the ground, and Crum picked it up. And he said, Tro, will you sign this for me?
I got a question. Since you're Mr. Social Media here for us, have we had any blowback from the Mount Rushmore of defensive backs? And I only ask because that was a hard one. There are a lot of guys that could go on that list. And I can only imagine there's got to be some angry people out there. Maybe they haven't responded, but there's got to be some anger out there with our Mount Rushmore. I'm
going to surprise you, and I'm going to say no.
Wow.
There was no negative blowback on the Mount Rushmore of DBs in the because I put it up as a Facebook story, and it was awesome. And once again, if you don't know the show, there's Mr. Andy Pankratz, my co-host, no digital footprint whatsoever.
Off the grid.
Mr. Sid Kafka. He's got some accounts. He doesn't even remember he has them. So,
doesn't know he has them.
Yeah, so he's not going on and checking.
Not very much.
So a Facebook story, guys, is when you put up a post.
Here we go.
I don't know if you know or not. And it's only up for like 20 seconds. And people just like swipe through these stories, and you see one after another. So I put up the picture of the Mount Rushmore, with the link to the show. Click here. But you can put like an emoji on it if you see somebody's story, like a heart or a thumbs up or whatever. Mr. Javon Curse, he responded with a fire emoji, ladies and gentlemen.
Did he?
He did.
Oh, future friend of the show, Javon Curse. Bring the freak in.
That's good.
Yeah, he's been very accepting of the show and posts online.
Speaking of Javon Curse, didn't we learn who named him the freak?
We did. That kind of insight you could find only here on the All for Gator podcast.
I think I remember that one too.
I do. That was Mr. Bo Carroll.
Bo Carroll.
And
Carroll, exactly.
He mutated.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Yes.
I think that's a great clip to play. Let's do it.
All right. I like that one.
That is a good one.
Bo Carroll right here, naming the freak. It's breaking news right here. All for the Gators podcast. All right, we do a little game called 5 for 5. I'm going to name 5 of your former Gator teammates. You got to tell us the first word that comes to your mind. You ready?
I hope so.
Number 1, Javon Curse.
Freak. I'm the one that gave him his name.
Oh, really?
Nobody knows that. We were in...
Oh, really?
How'd that happen?
We were in the Southwest Rec playing basketball, and I seen him. By then, he was a huge guy. And we were like playing basketball, and he was just like, even like as an athlete, he was just freaking. So I was like, you a freak. It's like, you a freak. I'm going to call you the freak from now on. And it stuck. I guess people like Riedel and Ike and all them were there, so they heard it. He's like, oh, yeah, that's it, freak. I was like, yeah, you a freak. Like you're a freak of nature. Like you started out as a strong safety. You came to Florida as a strong safety. You ended up as a defensive end. Like your body mutated. I'm the one that said the name and it just stuck.
So, John, what are some of your favorite memories of the show? Is there a particular moment that jumps out at you, or a particular question you got a great answer from?
I'll tell you one moment that had me, and it's not often. I mean, you're talking about their experiences and their performances and how they felt about things. So you don't really get real like belly laugh out loud moments a lot, right? But when we were talking in our episode to Ben Troop, and we asked him about Gesicki's Gritty.
Yes.
And he went on for about 5 minutes.
He did.
I was just keeled over, like holding my stomach, cracking up.
Yes. Ben Troop is great personality. Like on my list of people I'd want to go grab a burger and a drink with. That guy was great.
So why don't we do that? I got to hear that again. This is Ben Troop. Talking about Gesicki's Gritty right here, all for the Gators podcast. Let's lighten it up a little bit. What's up with Gesicki's Gritty?
I would say this, Gesicki, I love you. It's the longest gritty. It's a 50-yard gritty. Like he'll start from one end of the end zone. And this is what I think happened with it. He told his wife or his girlfriend or his family he gonna do it, and he showed it to them. They said, "Please don't do that. I'm gonna do it. Don't do that." You know what? We need to stop calling it the gritty. It's something else. That is not Justin Jefferson. That is not Jamar Chase. That is listen. I love the fact that that's how powerful culture is. But y'all know, just like I know, Gesicki, you need to do something else, man. That ain't it. And he can't wait to do it. And he does it for like 10 minutes. He'll do it in the end zone. He'll do it on the sideline.
Across the field.
Because in his mind, you know who I blame? I blame Travis Kelce. Because Travis Kelce can dance, right? Travis Kelce can dance, and Gesicki can't. And Gesicki goes, if I get in the end zone, I'm doing the gritty. No, Gesicki, they're not going. Gesicki think he's going to be on the Madden game. He think they're going to put that nonsense on it. And if they do,
they better make it just as bad as it is in real life, right?
I mean, look, I said Gesicki.
If it's in the game, it's in the game.
Well, yeah, I said Gesicki. When you look at Justin Jefferson, what about what he's doing? You think you're doing? Look, we're doing the same thing. No, we're not. Look, like y'all not doing it. I know you putting it up to your eyes and you doing it. What if the first person ever seen the gritty seen you doing it, and then they're gonna be doing it like you? That's not how it looks, man. That's not the gritty. God forbid he end up with like 10, 11 touchdowns. We're going to have to see that many more times, right?
What episode were you most nervous to do going into it?
Oh, man.
I know what mine was, and I think it was because it was early, but I got one.
I'm thinking.
I was nervous for Jabbar Gaffney just because he was my favorite. But as far as being recorded, the first show, Chris Rainey, like, how's this going to go? Are we going to talk over each other? Is this going to work?
Yeah.
And I'm very pleased that I think it has.
I would say probably Ciatric Faison.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because, I mean, that was just a huge mark for C4. Big fan.
Yeah.
And I believe we didn't get him on at first.
Yep.
Right. We rescheduled him a couple times, right?
Yeah, right.
He was great. He told some great stories.
So let's go back to that offseason between 03 and 04. What is that like for you? Are you training at that point with a big chip on your shoulder because you feel like you deserve to be the feature back and you want to be the feature back that next year?
Most definitely. And I had them 2 kids in high school, so they was my motivation as well. But I thought I was gonna be the starter. As soon as Rand left, I said, okay, it's my turn. But right before spring, they told me I was going in as a number 2 guy, and I was like, okay, all love for Deshaun Wynn, and me and him are good friends, and I was like, man, the number 2 guy after what I did. And I was like, you know what? I guess it's going to be a 2-headed monster, but I ain't going to complain. I just went out there and did my job. And we had that spring game going into our junior year. And I had a great spring game. And after that game, Coach Zook put me against the so-called starters. And I was with the backups. And I rushed for over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns in the spring game. And in the locker room, he was like, hey, man, forget what I said about the number 2 back. You're going into the summer as the number 1. And once he told me that, it was like no looking back. I was like, I got a goal. And I went up top to the film guys and say, I need Fred Taylor film, Emmitt Smith film, Eric Rett film. And they looked at me. I said, I need it. They said, for what? I said, because I'm going to be your next 1,000-yard back.
Mine was Doring.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was early on. I mean, he's on the SEC network.
Right.
I mean,
he's a professional
he's
broadcaster.
He's a huge name, too, right?
Right.
He's a huge name. And he was like a huge get for us. That was just one that I wanted to.
So early.
I wanted
on.
that one to go well, and he was fantastic too because he was really telling some great stories, and he loved the intro. I remember he was all about that, and he was adding on to it. You know, so
that's right.
Yeah, I wanted that one to go well because I think that honestly, in my opinion, I think that was one that really helped the show. Right, that one went so well. It was a big name. People recognized.
He has a lot of following. We
I agree.
Some of that.
Totally agree. That could have made us or broke us, that show.
Yeah.
Our second show with a big name like Doring. And being the second guest on a brand new podcast, not knowing the hosts, was a big risk for him. And it could have totally broke us. And I think at times he helped us out in the show.
Yeah.
And, I think we've come a long way since episode 2.
For sure.
Yeah, I would agree.
With our chemistry and everything and our execution of the show. And I think you're right. I think we owe a lot to Chris Doring. I agree with that.
I remember that was one of those, because I think he had a limited time frame that he was able to talk to us.
Right.
And we went way longer than we thought. So obviously that was a good sign in my opinion, right?
Yes. He seemed to
He was
enjoy
right there
himself.
with us. We were having good conversation. So that kind of proved, I think, to us that we could do this.
It was great. And I remember a comment I had that was not planned that sticks out in my mind about that show was because we talked so much about him being a walk-on and his success and, his heart and perseverance. And then I asked him about, does it ever get you angry when you watch the movie Rudy? And he went nuts.
Yeah.
Let's play that.
That's a good one.
Let's hear that back.
Good choice.
Little Chris Doring right here, All for the Gators podcast. You ever watch the movie Rudy and think to yourself, my story is 1,000,000 times better than
There's no question. It pisses me off every day. Rudy barely got on the field and had supposedly one sack. Dude,
Exactly.
that's nothing in compared to what I got a chance to do.
One of our all-time favorites of all three of us, Jabbar Gaffney, the story about why the Redskins cut him after his best year in the NFL, almost 1,000 yards, a ton of receptions, touchdowns.
It was because of the jersey number, right? Yep.
Can we play that?
Let's play that.
That's a good one.
All right, a little bit of Jabbar. Right here, All for the Gators podcast. So let's talk about that year in Washington. So you're traded to the Redskins, and you put up your best numbers for a season in your career in 2011. You have 68 catches, almost 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. You're targeted 115 times. Now, having said that, you're released by Shanahan after that season. I checked the receivers on the 2012 Redskins. Josh Morgan, who? Pierre Garçon, okay. You got the Canes, you got Santana Moss and Hankerson. None of them really a better receiver than you. Why do you think Shanahan, made that decision?
He didn't really have no choice in the matter. They wanted my number. I wasn't going to give up my number. That was when they was drafting RG3. They wanted my number 10.
Wow.
Yeah, that was all over. That was all over a number, man.
All over a number.
All over a number. Yeah, they called me and asked me if I was going to give it up. I was like, man, I'm number 10. How would that?
Yeah.
Wow, he wouldn't write you a check for that number? Isn't that what they do
Yeah,
these
that's
days?
what they're supposed to do, but they just they'll take another route and they'll just cut me to give him number 10 and just allow me to come back if I wanted to. But I was like, y'all doing stuff like that, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
How big of a check would it have taken?
I wouldn't took too much. I mean, just something to satisfy me losing my number 10. So probably about, about 50, 60,000 maybe. Would have did it.
You wouldn't have gone back to that heavy 86, though, I'm sure.
No, hey, I went up 1. I went to 11.
There you go.
The Jeff Chandler show was good.
Oh, yeah, that was the surprise show.
That's right. You didn't know that I had the
We found out Sid knew his whole family.
I did.
Yeah.
Via the Chandlers.
We had on Jeff Chandler, the Gators' all-time leading scorer.
Yes.
He was great. I remember him talking about, he talked about Spurrier, giving him kicking advice.
And he had a good Spurrier impression.
So speaking of Spurrier, John mentioned you played a little bit of wide receiver in high school, but
unfortunately, we didn't see any receiving stats at UF, no fake field goals or anything like that. Did you ever get in his ear about you being able to run a pattern or anything like that?
My biggest regret is that I didn't campaign hard enough for that
Right.
when I was at Florida, because he was the perfect coach for it. He would have loved probably to do, to work something like that in. But yeah, they allowed me, we played, I think, Miami of Ohio to start the 2000 season. I think it was 2000. And he let me kick the ball off, like a little dribble kick right to myself to pick the ball up, which I thought was like, hey, throw me a bone, I'll take it. It's not a fake field goal, but, it still gives me a little bit of glory and make me feel like a football player a little bit. So he let me do that. But we never really practiced fake field goals or anything like that. I think he was just kind of like a field goal is like a necessity that he didn't want to have to deal with because it means he didn't score a touchdown. So I just, for whatever reason, I used to see all these other kickers around the country, and they, do the ones where the holder flips it over his back.
Sure.
And the kicker runs around him and catches it. And I'm like, oh, that's my dream right there. But unfortunately, my number was never called in that. Coach Spurrier let me kick a lot of field goals, a lot more than he probably would have wanted me to kick.
Well, now with the old ball coach being a kicker too, did he offer any like hands-on coaching on the kicking, or offer any technique advice?
It's funny you mentioned that, because yes, he had punting and kicking advice, because that's what helped him win the Heisman, and he would tell us that till the sun went down about how great he was at kicking. But his style is not applicable to today. So I had to remind him that we make a more athletic move when we kick.
Yes.
Compared to, the little pop a shot kick.
Like the straight on George Blanda kick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two steps kick.
Yeah. Yeah. He would always, cause we would always get out to practice, 30 minutes early to warm up. Cause our period at practice was always the first period. So the guys would stretch, and then we'd go right into special teams. And so while everybody else is getting their pads on, we were already out at the field. So he'd come out there early with us, and he'd start to say, well, Jeff, I used to kick a few field goals. And so he would kind of tell us, how great he was. Well, what do you think about this? And he even would give our punters some tips on what he thought they should do. And you just kind of like nod and go, yeah, all right. And then when he leaves, you're like, all right, we're going back to what we were doing normally, But yeah, he was always very, would spend time with us, just not necessarily like time that really mattered, but just being around us, which I think made us feel like a bigger part of the team, because he was never in special teams meetings or anything like that. He was too busy focused on the offense. So we sort of craved that, maybe 15 or 20 minutes that we got before practice with him.
Very cool stories.
I imagine any attention you got from him had to be a plus. I mean, he is the Gator. That's great. That's great.
Oh man, we had a couple of guys that had good Spurrier impressions, including
our most recent, I think, is the best.
Tony George.
Yeah, Tony George's was very good. Tony George's was very good. Okay, I don't recall whose TV did Coach Spurrier turn off when he sat down and got someone's dad mad at him? Who was that?
Oh, maybe Jack.
I don't think it was Riedel.
I think it was Jack.
I think it was Riedel, because I think he was talking about he wanted to go away.
Riedel's dad was the mayor, and he didn't want to be in Tallahassee because his dad was going to be up there watching him.
He said that he said, "Hey Riedel, do you not want me to be here? Because I'll leave."
Oh, that was it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because his parents didn't want him to be there.
And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I got to play for this guy." Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Jack.
Yeah.
That was a great story. He turned off the TV.
Yeah. A lot of great Spurrier in-house visit stories.
Yep.
That's for sure.
I mean, our most successful episode, though, I think, isn't it still Riedel?
Yep.
The Riedel story I remember was he was having no comment about the after parties from winning the championship.
Yeah, he was pleading the fifth.
Yeah. He was like not touching that one yet. He was pleading the fifth.
He told good stories, though, about the competition and the practice, and knowing that he had the confidence with Ike and Jaquez and everything, though. Like he told good inside football stories about what it was like in the receiver room and how they all lifted each other up and brought out the best in each other.
That's the year you cement your legacy, right? You got over 70 receptions now, big jump in yards, over 1,200 yards, and then the 18 touchdown catches. That still stands, right, as a UF record.
With 4 called back.
Oh, didn't know that.
Nice. So what do you attribute kind of your personal level of success that season? Because you were great already, and then you go to the first team All-SEC consensus All-American, a legend in college football at that point. So kind of what do you think got you to that next level?
Ike, Quiz, Fred, Eli, Terry, all those guys. I give you a prime example. We just watched the NFL wild card, and you look at, they say Justin Jefferson, best receiver in the league. Oh, he gonna have this, that, blah, blah, blah. But if you ain't got no one else on the other side of you that takes some of the coverage away from you, you can be stopped as a receiver. I don't care how great you are. So the definition of a team sport, you only as great as the individuals around you. And to have a top 10 pick, a second round pick, a third round pick, another top 10 pick. I mean, I had dudes around me.
I mean, we had some great scout team stories by a bunch of guys. That's the one thing I think we've learned a lot on this show is the importance of the scout team and what that meant to guys back then.
Yeah.
It was almost like a badge of honor. It wasn't anything negative. They took it as a positive and got their work in and dominated, sometimes the starters and made them ready when they got their chance. It was like easy.
The Florida-Georgia game seemed to be very important. That Florida-Georgia Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We've had many members who remember of that. Then you could hear the pride in their voice and of the importance of them. So
absolutely,
that's pretty special.
Muck City.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I didn't know that much about Muck City until I kind of knew about the area and some of the players that came out of there. Didn't realize how many, and also how many Gators.
Yes.
Another theme: overcoming adversity.
Yes.
Some health adversities.
Mm-hmm.
We had Earl Everett.
Yeah, and that was a crazy story.
It was.
We had Tony George.
Mm-hmm.
We had Jarvis Moss. The story about Charlie Strong.
Yeah.
Telling Urban Meyer.
Yeah, he's our best player.
He's our best player.
Yep.
You need to get him help and figure out what's going on.
That was a great story.
That was a great story. He was ready to quit, right?
Yep.
He was done. He was ready to sign the paperwork and just be a student.
Yep.
Yes.
He was done.
Thank you, Coach Strong, from all Gator Nation. Thank you, Coach Strong.
Why don't we play that clip?
Yep.
Little Jarvis Moss. Right here, all for the Gators podcast.
That carried on into Florida. I got there, wanting to be the star, wanting to be the man, and that hampered me. That held me back. I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. Like I told you guys, it could be a Monday practice, and I'd look like the best player at Florida. Be like, dang, who the heck? This is why I recruited him. Nobody, and you guys know Florida. I mean, there's 5 4-star guys all over the practice field.
Sure.
I mean, there would be practices where I completely dominated the practices, like just a young kid, just a young player, And then 2 days later, I couldn't even participate in practice because of nobody knew what was wrong with my groin and stuff like that. So that went on for 2 years. So imagine you getting glimpses of this great player, and you're like, dang, wow, Moss. And then 2 days later, you're like, what the hell is this? And so that went on for like 2 years, guys. It got to the point where I literally told them I didn't want to play anymore. I was about to sign the papers and just be a student.
Wow.
I'll tell you, this is the last part of the story I'll tell you because it's a big part of the story. When Urban Meyer got there, I was nobody. I hadn't produced. He's coming in to clean up the building, kind of get the program back in the direction that everybody wanted it to be in. And being a player that hadn't done anything, and, Urban was kind of looking at me like, why are you here? And we had a team meeting one time, and me and Urban kind of ended up nose to nose.
Huh.
And he said some things to me that, in front of my team, he said some things to me that, most people would have fought, right there, and I felt really bad at the time because I knew I wasn't who I should be. But I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't a trainer. I also knew I'm just a player. It's not my job to figure out what my illness is. So I had that frustration going on. When Urban was kind of humiliating me in front of the team, and I'll just tell you this, I was tempted. I didn't want to be in Florida anymore. I think a day later, maybe, Coach Strong called a meeting between me, Urban Meyer, and him. So I go up to Urban Meyer's office. It's just me, Coach Strong, and Urban Meyer. And Coach Strong looks at Urban. He's like, look, man, I know you don't think this kid is anything. Charlie Strong looked at Urban Meyer and told him, this is our best player. It's just something wrong with him. And Urban's looking at Charlie like, what the hell are you talking about? He's a slapdick. He hasn't done anything for Florida yet. Charlie told him, he's like, look, this is our best player. It's just something wrong with him. Like, we gotta fix him. He's like, Charlie's like, I don't know if Moss has AIDS.
Oh my God.
Coach Strong, like literally, this is what Coach Strong, he's like, I don't know what's wrong with him, but it's our job. We got him all the way out here. It's our job to fix him or figure out what's wrong with him.
Absolutely.
Urban looked at me, and he picked up his phone on his desk, and he called the trainer upstairs. We waited a few minutes for the trainer to get up there. He walked in, and he looked at him. He's like, man, I want you to exalt every resource to figure out what's wrong with this kid. And I thank Coach Strong for that day, because that's when I finally started going to the hospital extensively and getting tests. And we finally got to the bottom of it where I can get on the field. And that's just to sum it up, guys. I'll never forget that day when Coach Strong looked at Urban. He was like, I know you have no high opinions about this kid, but this is our best player right here.
So how do we close the best of? I think I know. And it's with our last guest. In the intro, he said it best. And I think we'll close with this. I'm not even going to try to quote him. I'm just going to play the clip, and we're going to be out of here. Guys, 14 episodes. Man, I think we've done a hell of a job.
Sure have.
Yeah, we've picked up new listeners along the way.
Got a radio affiliate.
Yeah.
WJXL.
Hello, Jacksonville.
Jackson Sports Radio. That's right.
Gotten some good feedback. I know I certainly didn't see it on social media, but you send us screenshots, which is always nice to be able to see some of our fans out there that showing love for the podcast.
I don't do a lot on social media, but my mom really enjoys the show. She keeps telling me it's great.
All right, guys. Well, that's the best of, I guess, Volume 1. I hope we picked
Volume 1. Here we go.
I hope we picked some of the best segments, and we didn't leave out.
I think it's more of like a recap show.
Yes, there you go.
Than a best of, but
I feel like I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. though and scream out a moment that I wanted to mention now. So I'm sure, don't mind me.
I'm hoping we gave some listeners something to, that they're interested in if they haven't heard all of the episodes. So I hope we gave them something off of an episode they hadn't heard before that'll get them to go listen
and stick around. There's more to come.
Hear full interviews. That's right.
Absolutely.
Super producer. Hard at work.
Here we go. All right, guys, let's do it.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators. I'll stick around this time.
This is such an honor and a privilege to get back to talk with our Gator fans and Gator alum around the world. And it's good to give updates on the greatness that's happening in our lives and in our world.